No, I know people on both sides of the aisle.
The funny thing about that is, so the argument of the flat Earth people, no matter how kind of whatever kind of like obvious sort of physical evidence you give them, is like it's a brilliantly conceived thing. Like I don't know if the people who started that really believe it or if it's just some sort of counterculture stunt, but it's brilliant because anything argument that you give it, you just say, well, see, that's all part of the whole conspiracy. Like,
Yeah.
like once you establish that, like the whole everything is a hoax and everything's being played, then anything that anybody gives you that isn't consistent, you can just shovel it under that. Like,
Yeah.
well, see, there you go.
But see, to them, consistency is like who's arbitrating the consistency. You may be a conspiracy theorist. You're arbitrating it. If you're not, so they're not gonna. Yeah,
Exactly.
It's hard to come to a middle ground.
It's
So
hard.
the people I know who believes in flat Earth, they really believe it.
They really believe it. So do you know any? Like I don't know any personally. Like I've seen them.
I know a
Do you
few.
some? So do you ever?
We can talk around the block about how we talk about UFOs, aliens, flat Earth, gravity.
Gravity.
Yeah, anything. It's all unknown.
Yeah.
I have my own personal beliefs, my own.
Well, that's okay. We're open to everybody's personal beliefs. I do think though, like I don't have any particular conspiracy theories that I'm like highly dedicated to, but I am persuaded, and I have been for a long time, that much of whatever we're told is probably not what's really happening in many cases around. When you talk about government or you talk about like.
Oh yeah, I mean, we only know probably 25%.
Yeah, and that's probably not even.
It's probably light.
Right, like everything is. Yeah, everything is suspect to me, but we didn't come to talk about that. So, Dr. Taj Clark.
It sounds strange when you
sounds that. Sometimes somebody comes on the show and we already know each other. So, but in this case we don't. So I know very little about you except that you're friends with Jason Scare.
Yeah, I know Jason for a long time.
Was on the show. Obviously, the two of you play basketball together because neither one of you fits in the space that we've allocated.
Yeah.
And you reached out and said something. And so I want to talk about your story a little bit first.
Sure.
But you said doctor sounds strange. So
yeah,
why does it sound strange?
Well, because I never imagined that I would have a PhD.
Yeah. What is it? What's the PhD in?
Leadership studies. Yeah. So
well, if we needed more PhDs, we need them in that.
We do need leadership in the world today. But leadership, again, we spoke about being subjective when we first got here. Leadership is subjective. We have one idea about who's a leader, how they lead.
Yeah.
Is it male? Is it female? Is it whatever?
Right.
And nothing is really set in stone. I don't believe in the mastery of anything, but the improvement of everything.
Yeah.
So it's tough. So my story, it begins, I played a little small-time college basketball, Lee College in Baytown, Texas. Wasn't really too dedicated. I wanted to play, but I didn't want to go to school. So that happens.
Yeah.
And then
I didn't want to go to school either, just so you know.
Then after that, I was put on academic probation, and then I had a son, Noah. He just graduated law school last year. Mm-hmm. He's taking a bar this year. And at that time, I was very young, so I had to make a decision. Thank God for my parents, Ida and Richard, the best people I've ever known.
Yeah.
Most definitely. My mother, whatever I say would pale in comparison to who she really was. She passed away in 2016.
Oh, sorry.
My father, I see him all the time. He was at the house last night. We're in this small space. He would walk in right now, still feel the safest at 48 years old. Two-time Vietnam War vet. Just an amazing person.
Right.
So he's the best man I've ever met. My mother's the best person I've ever met. So I was blessed with the parents I had.
Very artfully. When they were both here, I could see how you had to navigate that. Because
my father is he's Richard. My mother is full of everything. Like I said, it wouldn't even be fair for you to even
Right.
for me to even try to tell you who she was, because she's
Right.
outstanding.
Yeah.
So I went to night school, went to Lee College, graduated Lee College, and I swore on everything I would never go to night school and work again. But I looked up schools, and University of Phoenix popped up, and I was like, well, that sounds doable.
Yeah.
I did that, and then I had to make a decision about grad school, and education to my parents was everything. My mother was a sergeant in the Air Force. My father did 2 tours in Vietnam. So when they got to the Air Force, it was really about, it was in the 70s, it was really about making a living for themselves.
Yeah.
And for the family, I think she got out when she was pregnant with me.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
So my education, so I went to the University of Houston, Victoria to get a master's in business with a concentration in economic development and entrepreneurship. And I never thought about getting a PhD, but I was around a bunch of people who were just getting degrees left and right. And, again, degrees, they don't change you. They create opportunities for you.
Sure. Yeah.
So I just took my shot. And it was one of the best things I've ever done for me. Educational wise, it was one of the best things I've ever done.
Yeah.
Because now I teach a class at University of Houston downtown. I'm sorry,
On leadership, right? I think that's
principles of management.
Okay.
Yeah, and I've been doing that since last year. And when I tell you, the kids are, they're not traditional students. A lot of them are, but a lot of them aren't. Just brilliant.
Yeah. So I have to tell you that I looked you up on Rate My Professor. I usually try to do a little homework.
I never look at that.
They like you. They think you're great. They think you're great. Unlike somebody else that we had on a show recently who also had done some college teaching, I looked him up, and the prevailing comment was, he's not for everyone. And but the ones who liked him really liked him. But you seem to be people seem to really you must be doing something right in the classroom.
I'm a lover of people.
Yeah,
I'm a lover of people. Like I said, I get it from my parents.
Even young people, because that's hard.
It's hard. It's hard. But
the older I get, it seems like it's harder.
Well, it's on us really. Like the younger people, we look at the, like you were speaking about the youth earlier.
Yeah.
It's really like I'm 48. I wouldn't dare ask you how old you were.
I'm older than you.
But it's up to us. Like, they just want to be understood.
Yeah.
But I think we've not, like, I'll say my parents' generation, the baby boomers, strong, resilient, unrelenting, just sure, never give up.
Yeah. So this is interesting because this comes up, I guess, not surprisingly, this comes up on this show a lot because as we talk about life in America and what we're doing right, and what, how we helping ourselves, how we not helping ourselves, what should we be doing different, right? Specific to American society, because it was a model, of some. It was a certain model of goodness in the world. At least that's the prevailing thought. I know there's some people now who think that it was never any good, but certainly it was never perfect. But there's but this concept of the generations comes up a lot, right? And the baby boomers compared to the right. And I'm actually right in between. I've said this before, but I'm born like right on the line between the baby boomers and the Gen X, right? So he's like, yeah, he's an old guy. You just chime in when you got something interesting to say, Trevor. We don't, and so I was always kind of. There are aspects of my personality that lean more toward that baby boomer point of view, like, and then aspects that the other. But it's interesting to see how things are really, like, the outlook of each generation is very different.
Yeah.
And what makes that interesting is the outlook of each generation is to some degree a product of whatever their parents,
of course,
right? And so it's weird to see how each generation of parents somehow produces like the next batch of kids that are so much different from how they were. Yeah. Right. It's not
it's not like a conveyor belt while you just shoot out things and everything happens the same. I think in addition to that, when we talk about parents and generations, like there are a bunch of intricacies that goes along with that. Like my parents, my mother was 67, she passed away. She'd been 74. My father's 75 now. It was library, go to work, don't quit. You need to make money. You need to survive. You need to take care of your family. My generation, it was a little bit different. You know, we had pagers. We had other things going on. I had a lot of sports in my life.
Yeah.
It was just different. This generation, you know, they have social media. Everything's at their fingertips. We've always, I think, in my opinion, we've always been a nation of immediate gratification. We want things instantaneously. Now they have it. So when they see that they think they can get things from here to here, it makes it, to me, it makes it much more, I don't want to say deadlier, but it decreases their will to kind of go inch by inch to achieve things.
Yeah.
It's a tough thing.
Wow, yeah, there's a whole lot there that, actually, you know what? Well, I think there's another thing that's happening, which is there's a shift in values and priorities from one to the well. Trev, you got the thing, the survey about it was a Wall Street Journal NORC poll. Yeah, this one. Yeah, okay. This was look at the headline. Traditional values like patriotism, religion, and community have plunged dramatically among Americans. So go down to the, I don't know who that is in a picture. Go down. That's Courier Enthusiasm. Go down to the chart. Okay, so these American, what would have been considered to be historically American values, right? Patriotism, religion, having children, community involvement, money. So the three bars are 1998, 2019, and 2023, and we could sit here right now and argue about whether these are the right values to have or not. Right. But the fact is that there's a shift, right? Like way fewer people today think that those things are
Let me see. Patriotism, religion, having children, community involvement, money. So
how does that? Yeah. So how do you see that play out?
So this is interesting because, again, I'm not sure who. You know, you weren't surveyed, and there was a gentleman back here. Neither was I. So you know that survey can only be generalized to the people who were surveyed.
Yeah.
Number one. Number two, patriotism. It depends on what patriotism, because we have so many cultures. It depends on like what we call patriotism.
Yeah.
So
even compared to 1998, it's certainly Houston is.
So for instance, my dad grew up in a time, you know, he came home from the service.
Yeah.
He's an African American male. He didn't feel so patriotic, but he loves his country. Even
yeah. So
now.
what's the difference between being patriotic and loving your country?
He loves his country, but you know there are inner workings that he just doesn't agree with because he's had to deal with injustice. He just has.
Yeah.
So you can love your country, and like we spoke about it earlier. You know, this country has to have some level of greatness for it to survive this long.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean the greatness has been afforded to everyone. It's just a lot of things that we talk about, and this is not about. Victim stance or victimization or feeling like a victim. I'm just saying that the patriotism part, you know, it's always up to debate. Religion, I mean, there's so many different religions. I mean, I watch them.
But this doesn't say any particular religion. It just says like, is religion in general important?
I don't think so. Not anymore.
Yeah.
No, not anymore.
Yeah.
I think money is the most important thing that I've seen right now. Community involvement, I don't see. I see less people who are civically engaged in their local governments and their state governments. They barely engaged in the national election. The primaries, no, but that it all begins.
So why is that, do you think? Because I think I see the same thing.
I think, and this is from my point of view. I think we're focused on the external. We're trying to find something externally first, and I'm all about self-assessment. I'm a symbol of imperfection. I know every day I have to get up and learn something more about myself. Right. That's why I don't believe in a mastery of anything, because you said it earlier. Trends change. We look at this screen. Everything changes.
Right.
So I think we're trying to find something that pure happiness, but it's difficult to find if we're not understanding who we are. I think if we find some time to self-assess, I think we'll learn to navigate more. But we're reaching for the things that we can feel. We see the end result. For instance, this building, it's just a shell. It has a foundation. It had to have a foundation for it to be built up. We're looking outside. We're looking for the external part first to help us build, but we have to build here, and it's tough.
Yeah. So all those things that you just said are very easy to say. What you are, so I'm gonna veer back. I want to come back to some of those things,
Sure.
but I want to veer back for a second to about you because besides teaching college, you also you work a lot with youth mental health, things like this, right?
I own a licensed chemical dependency center in Pasadena, Texas.
Okay.
And I deal with mostly adults. I can see.
Okay.
I'm licensed for youth as well, but I do have a contract.
You deal with mostly adults.
Yeah, mostly adults in that fashion. I do have a contract with the Texas Juvenile Justice Department where I see kids who are coming out of jail. They're on parole, so I do home visits with them, which is interesting. A lot of those kids don't have a chance.
Yeah.
I mean, when they get out, because they come to a situation to whereby it's very unstable.
Yeah,
we've actually. Let me say this now.
Yeah, go ahead.
The parole officers, beautiful people, loving people. They try and give those kids everything they can, But they're only with them once, maybe a week, and stuff. Go ahead.
Right. No, I just that reminded me that I didn't hit D&D. I got it, Trev. I didn't do all my quiet. So that's funny that you said about the parole people because in the movies the parole officers are always like these dirt bags that that are always on the take, right? And they got and
I've never met one
there. So I always wondered why would somebody be a parole officer? Like of all the jobs that I can think of that I like, that sounds like
it sounds like why would you do that?
Yeah.
But again, you have to love people. Everything we do, the gentleman who works with you, me, like everything we do, it directly affects us and indirectly affects everyone else. So maybe they just want to share whatever they can, the human condition or the human spirit to other people. And something, they just maybe want to be selfless. Me personally, I don't know if I could do it. Of course I could do it, but I don't think I would ever be my passion. But but the people part of it, that's my passion.
So it sounds all right. So you work with these people who substance abuse,
mental health issues.
Mostly that mental health, right? So you're working with people who are in trouble and need help.
Every last person I deal with are either some sort of legal trouble. Some have pre-employment issues with drug screens, but for the most part, they're all Harris County probationers.
Okay, so I want to ask you a couple questions that have come up on this show before, but I think you might be better qualified to answer them. And I also think that that little speech that you gave a few minutes ago about, we want everything on the outside, but we got to start with knowing who we are. I suspect that that's a kind of a cornerstone to how you kind of begin with a lot of these
my
folks,
life,
right?
Correct.
Yeah, and when you're trying to help these people that are like, that's where you got to start.
I think so.
Understanding that, and then what do I do about that are two different things, right?
It's a gulf between that.
Like great. So yes, so I know that I'm in a state of disrepair internally. Right. What do I do about it? Where do you start with?
So that's a good question. It's it's really about giving yourself some time. I don't know how your day goes, but sometimes it's
chaos mostly.
Most likely.
Yeah.
So it's tough to sit down, take 5. Try this. We tried this at school the other day. Give yourself 2 minutes of just silence. No TV, no phone, no anything. It doesn't mean you have to meditate. Just give yourself some time. So we're running around all the time.
Not sleeping. That doesn't count.
No sleeping. Just 2 minutes of just whatever.
Yeah.
And I think that's one issue. Like, we want so many things. We want an enormous amount of things. But we have to remember, before we get anything, we have to learn who we are first. So when I'm speaking to someone who's going through some issues with probation or who may have a drug issue, I always ask, like, why are you here? What do you think you're here for? What are your passions? Just try and give them something concrete to think about. Because if we don't have a plan, we're aimlessly walking around in the wilderness.
So what's the response typically when you first hit somebody with that in a genuine way, because there's the also not so genuine way, right? Because when Jason was on the show and we were talking about the family that went back to Somalia because the kid, became a teenager. All he wanted to do was stay up all night playing video games and smoke weed. That was it. And his father, being a traditional conservative Somalian man, loved his son, no doubt.
Right.
But the way it came out was anger that you don't have a plan. Like, why don't you have a plan for your life? Like, you're not going anywhere. You're not doing anything. Mm-hmm. The message of that and the message of what you're saying are substantively not that much different, right? But the delivery is very different, and the way that you try to get them to
delivery is important.
Yeah. So do you ever have anybody when you approach somebody with that? Do you ever get the reaction like, "Oh man, people have been asking me that all my life. I don't know."
It happens all the time. So when a person says that, it's just telling you, just back up, back off. I'm not ready to talk. And that's fine. There's no pressure because, again, we speak about enlightenment. It's a collaborative effort.
Yeah.
It's hard for me to say, hey, man, I want to be enlightened and just walk away and turn my back. So I try and pull them in. It's like, hold up, let's just back up. I'm not trying to be intrusive. I'm just trying to figure out, like, what's, the only person I've ever known to exhaust their inhale and exhales is my mother. I'm serious, man. When I tell you she lived. My father does the same thing.
Yeah.
So that's what I want to do. It's tough because I know I take my breath for granted sometimes. I know I take my life for granted sometimes. I know I try and keep my gratitude list long, but sometimes it's difficult because I have a small business for the past 18 years. It's, there's a bunch of uncertainty. I deal with people who have a lot of things going on. So just business sakes, their account receivables are late. But I'm empathetic.
Yeah.
I know that, in the end, we're all people, regardless of you, me, cultures, whatever. We're people.
Yeah. So sometimes you have to just work on being friends with somebody for a while before you can really prod them to. What did you say? Exhausting all your inhales and exhales?
Exhausting your inhales and exhales is important to me.
Yeah.
Something I'm irritated about because I'm not doing. I'm not. I have this going on. I have of course, small business. I love teaching. I have a lot of things going on. So I need to really take a moment to ask myself, like, what are you doing for yourself?
Right.
Are you getting better? Because I can improve on everything. I'm never beyond reproach. I can improve on everything.
Sure. Yeah. Do you think people? So another thing, and people come on a podcast or I talk to people in different settings or whatever, and all of us seem ready to admit that, we're not perfect and we're trying to get better, but. Do people really get that about themselves, you think? Or is it that they don't get it, or is it that they just never really take the time to?
That's a good question. I think it's tough to understand the dynamics of us sometimes. That's why I encourage some time to ourselves. Even if someone says, like for me, I really I know I'm a symbol of imperfection.
Yeah.
So if we actually sit down and take some time and say, you know what, you can get better at this, you can get better at that, and I think we'll have a better understanding because no one's beyond reproach.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing is there's a plethora of, or plethora is too small a word. There's an abundant amount of self-help, self-improvement. Available on social media, and I know. Trevor over here is a real Andrew Huberman nerd, but and some of it's really good, like Huberman, fantastic, right? Mm-hmm. Some of it's pop psychology garbage. Some of it, right? Just this problem of, and this is where we go back to culture 50 years ago, 60 years ago, 70 years ago. Whether it's in this country or even in other countries, is simpler, right? People just had sort of basic, didn't seem well. I don't know. I wasn't around in the first half of the 1900s, and certainly there were other things going on that were no good. That thank God we've moved past a lot of that, like what your parents had experienced. But or I thought we did move past a lot of it.
You know, it's different. It's in a different form now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it seemed not so tangled up in their own head, as they are today.
We want. I think I don't have any social media besides LinkedIn. That's it.
Yeah.
No Facebook, no Instagram, no Twitter. Even though my son, my daughter, they tell me I need it all the time. But I just if I need to keep in touch with someone, I'll find a way to do that.
Yeah.
But so I think a lot of times we live our lives on likes.
Yeah.
But that again, that goes back to self-assessment.
Yeah.
To me, and not to sound wild or anything like that, but whoever likes me or don't like me, that's inconsequential to me.
Yeah.
Because I don't even need to know people to know me. I actually want them to feel my impact of if I've helped them or if I've whatever. If I made it a good space in their life. I know for a fact that this is from my parents. They didn't collect things; they collected people, which is important.
Yeah,
and it's tough because people can be hard to deal with.
Well,
it just can.
I have a little slogan in my life, which is that all the problems that I've ever had in my life have involved people. So I mean, being one of them, but nonetheless,
right.
Like, if you look back in your life and you look at all the struggles that you had, all the times that maybe perhaps it wasn't your fault, but there was some sort of problem that you were dealing with, because that happens, right?
Of course.
There's never not people involved in those things.
Yeah,
right? Unless you like fall off a boat in the
right. If you just totally self-destruct, but otherwise there is
there's people involved, right?
You were speaking about something earlier about the times when it was much simpler.
Uh-huh.
Like my grandmother's house, it still stands in Barrett Station, Texas. 1957, she bought that house for $500. She and my grandfather, $500.
Yeah.
She raised, and it's not big. My office.
Where is it? You said
it's in Barrett Station, Texas. It's a small black community going. It's going towards Louisiana. So, for instance,
like toward Beaumont. Yeah.
Between Baytown, but on the
other side. Okay.
So she raised 12 sons and daughters in there, including their friends, and it was a much simpler time. They were trying to get by, trying to make it.
Yeah.
But now we're trying to do something that's extraordinary without any extraordinary effort. Meaning, I need this now because I see that it can be done now. But now it's so far away because we don't put in the work. That means on ourselves. Whatever we want, I honestly think we can get. But if we don't work on ourselves, it's hard to get.
So that's a very so I'm with you on that, by the way. Mm-hmm. But that's not a popular way of thinking right now at all. No. And people aren't being encouraged to think that way by like the powers that be.
Right.
There's more and more. It seems to me, and this comes back to another question I wanted to ask you, which is, it seems to me like we're being encouraged, like society is being encouraged to actually not think about individual responsibility and to think about, this whole concept of, and you may have a different take on this, but like this concept of equal outcomes to me says that somebody needs to turn the dials
for equality
for people to not the equal opportunity but the equal outcomes means government typically needs to come in or a corporation needs to come in and turn the dials to cause things to turn out equally well for everyone. And like while I don't want to see anybody not have a better life or not have some benefit or whatever it is. At the same time, that seems to steer us away from this idea of what you just said, which is, you said you believe that we could do it.
I probably have a slightly different take. I'll say this.
Because that's something I'm really trying to wrap my head around, but it seems to steer us in the wrong direction.
It's a tough situation,
right.
It's because, again, we all see things differently because of whatever, culture, race, so-called race. So let me say this: race, in my opinion, it's a social construct.
Yeah,
it is. We're different skin tones. I'm considered black. You're considered whatever you could.
I think I'm a white guy.
White. You consider white.
My barber used to call me a white guy.
So you consider white. Yeah. So whomever, so this other person, maybe whatever, so-called race. So race is a social construct, in my opinion. So we have to look historically. We had to assimilate to white people, asserting their whatever authority. It was pseudo authority at the time, but they willed their authority. Mm-hmm. It made it work. So we've all had to assimilate to that, and we have. So now I'm black and you're white, as opposed to human beings being on an equal footing. Yeah. So my father's father, his father, he couldn't read or write because he wasn't allowed to.
Yeah.
As far as voting, even when they were allowed to vote, black people were allowed to vote, they had poll tax. So I understand what you're saying, like equal footing. And I do believe that if you put your mind to it, you can do it. But we talk about systematic injustice. In my opinion, there is, because, a certain nationality or ethnicity or race started right here. And so my grandparents, great-grandparents started right here. And it's tough because
historically you're playing catch up.
It's tough because it's one element, there's another element, and then we're trudging. And it's not like this element staying here. We're all trudging this way, but as we move up, then this element moves up, and the system. Sometimes it's hard to break a system. You can program a system, you can program it, but to actually crack the code, it's tough. Yeah, but I understand what you're saying. It's tough to try and put everything and make everyone.
Well, I guess the question becomes: so the historical reality is exactly what you just described. By the way, I want to make a little comment on that race thing. If it's funny that, because exactly what you said is, if you peel back and you look at what anthropologists and sociologists define as race, they actually can't agree. Of course, there is no actual definition of
leave it up to us humans to file it up.
Well, yeah. So we're arguing about something that doesn't even have a clearly acknowledged definition beyond human race, right? So, but the fact remains, whatever you call it, like the syntax is not important.
Right.
The fact is that historically, what you just described is true, right? So you wind the clock back 100 years or even less. I mean, certainly more, but even less.
Right.
And you go, okay, well, this segment of society has advantages over this segment. And you go, and today, I think in some people's head, okay, yeah, but that's kind of all leveled out over time. And then other people go, well, not really, but I don't hear a lot of examples. So I hear a lot of like arguments in the abstract, but like what's like in your head, like what's an example of you go, because another thing that comes up on this, I'm going to say like a whole bunch of different things. I'm going to let you talk. So another thing that comes up a lot is the system, right? Is the system really rigged against certain people, or is everybody ultimately a product of their environment? Like you said, some of these kids come out and they're not going back to a good place. So how in the hell are they going to do anything good?
They don't have a chance.
So, kind of like netting all that out, are we at a point where, look, everybody's got the same opportunity, you make up your mind, you get it done, it doesn't matter who you are, or are we still with some of those imbalances?
That's a good question. So we have to we can talk about this for 3 hours, but the thing is, it's you said it earlier.
We'll do a part two.
we have to peel it back. We have to peel it back. So we have to. The systems don't run themselves. So in the beginning, you said go back 100 years. Let's go back 100 years. My great-great-great-grandfather could never be in charge of a system. So who's in charge of the system?
Yeah.
It's probably your ancestors. Probably.
Well, they were Irish and Italian, so probably not.
Well, probably not. But whomever, whatever.
Yeah, but I get your point.
Yeah, whatever. I'm speaking just on superficial things, skin tone. So it's tough to break. Again, we spoke about breaking the code of the system. So I'm not saying that it's impossible. I'm saying that there are systems in place where it's tough for not just my nationality, ethnicity. It could be for whomever.
But so like what, for example? Do you like?
So
like,
for you was talking about
like
jobs.
today.
You're talking about who you know, how you know. Again, you're even though you were Irish American in 1965, your people probably could vote. The Voting Rights Act just happened in 1965. It's 2023.
Yeah,
That's not too long ago.
Yeah, that's the year before I was born. In
See, that's what
1965.
I'm saying. That's not too long ago.
And as we've already established, Trevor, I'm not that old.
So again, I don't want to make this a race versus race thing. I'm saying
No, this is an interesting thing, I think, to kind of dig into in a way that isn't just people yelling at each other.
Well, it's important that we have conversations because that's how we get lost. I coined something called the three C's: communication. It invokes clarity. Clarity decreases confusion. It increases cohesion, and it invokes compromise.
That was 5 C's.
It was 5 C's. Well, the 3 C's are the most. 3 C's is the most important. But that's good.
That's
count.
good. That's
but
good. Though.
We're trying to. It's hard to come to a middle because again, for me, man, I've had a beautiful life. I have a beautiful life. But my mother and my father, when they got out of the service, they worked at chemical refiners. My father retired from Total Refinery. Mm-hmm. My mother retired from Bayer Chemical. So we always had what we wanted. But what taught me humility is my mother's supervisor, the plant supervisor. They were all good friends. We would get her son's clothes, and this was a Caucasian lady. I love her to death. Vicky LeCar, wherever you are, how you doing?
I think I know her.
Vicky LeCar?
I feel like I know her.
Her son is Brandon, and
yeah. I've been around the industry for a long time. Yeah, so.
Beautiful people.
Yeah.
So it taught me that just you have this, but you don't have to have it. So learn some humility. Take these clothes, and we did. I'll never forget Ocean Pacific. They look like Vans. OP.
OP. Yeah.
OP. Yeah. Vans, shirts, and my brother name is Raj. It just reminded us.
Taj and Raj.
July 31st, July 30th.
That's awesome.
I love that's my best. I love my brother.
That's awesome.
So it just reminds us that we're no different than anyone else. I don't care what type of money you think you have, what kind of money you don't have. At the end of the day, we're all linked as human beings.
Yeah.
But again, the system will make you think that it's not true because, again, there's systematic everything. It is. It's just it's what I've experienced.
So what do we do about it? Because we could spend a long time trying to flesh out all the little details of where the system works against people and where it doesn't, and right. But let's just take as our working assumption. So I went to school a little bit. I know what a working assumption is. Not very much. Our working assumption is that, yeah, there are aspects of the way things work in society today. I'll even leave out the word "the system" because who knows what that really means. Of course. Right? There are ways in which things work that doesn't really put everybody on equal footing. Mm-hmm. So what do we do about it? Because one solution that seems to be continuously floated nowadays is to end up like tweaking things to work differently, like switching the advantage or trying to fit. What's the right way to deal with that?
I think even if that was proposed, it's too vast to. If there's an advantage, the systematic things is not really about advantage. It's about it's about a standstill. Even though we're trudging upwards, it's still a standstill. Like I have to knock on your door to say, "Can I come in?" And you may say, "I don't know. What does this person know you? Or does this person know you? Or are you the right skin tone?" It's just a lot of stuff. How do we change it? It's just what we're doing now.
Yeah,
we're afraid to have open dialogue. Listen, man, I have a friend. I won't say his name, but I love him. And of course, he's a different tone than I am. We were at this house.
He's not orange, is he? Because
no,
that would make him very influential.
He's white. He's white. And I love him. I love him, and I love his family, all of them. So we went to his house for his son's birthday, and we were just laughing and talking. He was like, "So what about Obama?" And so his wife comes over. She's like, "Oh my God!" So of course it was a bunch of us sitting around. We were talking. if we didn't have a dialogue, I could say, you know what, something's wrong there. And he could say, you know what, you're playing the victim. But we had an open dialogue. It was fun. It was funny. It was nice.
Yeah.
He said what he had to say. I had to say what I had to say. We hugged, and I love him. But I think we're afraid to have open, honest, and cordial conversations because it can be very abrasive.
Well, I think
The subject matter
and the way things are, yeah, for sure, the subject matter. But also, I think the way that things are, the way other aspects of society have developed or regressed, depending on your point of view, we're not really encouraged to do that anymore because there's less and less actual human. So you're sitting there in a house or whatever with people, and you're all sitting around talking. That doesn't happen as much as it used to.
Not.
When we started BrainPub Network, we thought, the idea was, the old neighborhood pub, the concept of the neighborhood pub was, this might be because I'm Irish, but was, those people didn't sit around and tell each other how great they were every time they got together at the pub. Like they argued about shit, and they got mad and they pounded their fists and whatever. But they all went home and they were all still friends, right? So we don't. But now all of the interactions, so many interactions are happening inside these social media constructs or these other constructs where first of all, the echo chamber effect is always in play. And secondly, the human aspect of it. Like when I'm sitting here looking at you as another person, unless I'm just an asshole, I'm thinking about like you're human.
Right.
And, and I don't want to offend, I'm trying to hear you and understand you and all that. But I think that goes out the door when we're all communicating like this, right?
Of course.
And so...
great point. Look, again, I had a friend, Clement. Clement Burris called me not too long. Well, he called me not too long ago, and he was like, Taj, I wanted to call you because I was thinking about you. I didn't want to text. He says, from now on, if I think about you, I'm calling as opposed to text. And he taught me something because I don't text. I'm still getting used to my iPhone. I used to have a BlackBerry. In fact, I still have one.
I missed the BlackBerry.
I wanted to get the system integrated so bad, but Sprint can do it at the time. So I just my sweetheart, my daughter, she likes to FaceTime. Whatever she's away at school, she plays college ball as well. So I think we replace formal communication with social media, and that's number one. Number two, when we're just conversing within our own familiar groups, it tends to result in groupthink. Groupthink is never important. I mean, I'm sorry,
never good. Yeah.
Never good.
Yeah.
I think it reduces our critical thinking skills. It reduces our authenticity. It reduces our autonomy to exercise our own belief system. Like, what do we truly believe? We may not believe. I have people in my family, we don't think like each other.
Yeah,
we converse and we love each other, but we think differently. But when we're associating ourselves with the same people, groupthink happens, and it's never good. And then
it doesn't challenge us.
It doesn't challenge us.
If I only talk to people, as much fun as it is to hang out with people with the guys that think like me and make jokes and it doesn't challenge me to really think differently about anything. No. Right? I'm just enlightenment
is the key. I'm not saying you have to wake up saying, you know what, I need to have an epiphany today. I don't think that's the case. I think the case is like.
But if you go to a doctor, they can prescribe something for that. I think
they can, which is also
not your kind of doctor.
Exactly, but which is also I think also can be. I'm not saying cured, but can be addressed by open conversation. Listen, in my opinion, our critical thinking skills in our country, it's on critical condition.
Yeah, this has come up a number of times here, and it's really bad.
It's bad.
It's even worse, I think, than we.
It's horrible.
So what do you see it?
It's horrible. It's we have I see a lot of podcasts, which there's an audience for that, but there's an opportunity. I think the gentleman back there said earlier, it's not rehearsed. It's not. It's just an organic thing. We're having a back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
we move so fast. We move so fast. We have bills. We have children. We have things to take care of. I think sometimes we really need to take some time to just sit down, self-assess, and reach out. I've met so many beautiful people who they're different cultures, different ethnicities, different genders, just on the street. Sometimes I take walks downtown on Sundays, at the gym. I meet people, and again, I'm a lover of people, but it gives them an opportunity to connect with the human part of us.
Yeah,
it's tough.
Yeah,
for other people to do it. For me, I'm always willing and ready.
Yeah, it's really, we've talked about, there's so many things that aren't a part of society. All right, so there's two different things there. There's the just connecting with people, and then there's this critical thinking thing, which I think actually, like, if we have a crisis in this country right now, like, that one's in the top 10 of the list. But this interacting with people. So I actually gave this. I gave a longer version of this. I'm just going to tell you real short because I did it. It was 2 or 3 episodes ago. I had a guy here, and we were basically the theme of the show was, "Are we getting dumber?" And
I think I looked on your list.
Might have seen that.
Yeah, I saw that.
Cully Templeton, "Are we getting dumber?" And but what we were talking about is this lack of just thinking for ourselves, and and how we don't really have to process anything anymore because it's all just like fed to us. Not only do you get the news, like the facts. All right, I'm using the word facts,
right?
But
loosely.
But not only do you get here's what happened, but you also get here's what it means, and this is what you ought to think about it, and this is what you ought to do about
Most
it.
Definitely.
Right? Like
Most
all
definitely.
of that comes to us, and I have a theory about the reason why that is because as soon as we created a news channel that was this big, we got to fill it up with something, right? Like
Sure.
that much stuff just doesn't happen, so we got to have all this other stuff.
Right.
But the point is that as a result, we're not. And then you take out all these social interactions that don't really happen anymore. We've talked about, there used to be things like the suburban martini culture, right? Which it was, like this family, like at the end of the day, oh, the Joneses are coming over for martinis later. Oh, okay, let me go change my shirt, right? Whatever, right? Like that, that's just one slice, right? And that's not for everybody. But the point is that there used to be these regular social interactions where people would talk about what was going on, and like interact, and we've like stripped all that away. I think I said that twice now, but I think it's a huge contributor.
It's dangerous
to not having any kind of
100%.
Yeah,
100%. It contributes to a lack of communication.
Yeah,
it decreases our awareness of our human counterpart. If we're doing this, we're emailing. We're not really. We're not really communicating.
Yeah,
we're just not. We're using an apparatus to get our message across, and the message could not even be what we really meant it to be. We just forgot how to communicate. I think, the trend's not changing.
Yeah. So what do we? Okay. So I want to come back to you. I'm trying to be conscientious about the show to not only just sit here and talk about everything that's broken. But
I don't think it's terribly. I mean, it's not the fact that it's broken. It's the fact that it's scattered.
Yeah,
it's scattered.
So what do we? Yeah. So I asked you before. So what do we do about all these things? You said we need to spend more time talking to each other. When you, so these people that you work with, that are in some sort of
there are
awful
some legal trouble
situations, well, I'm curious about two things. One is there a common thread as far as how people get into those situations in life?
Another good question. I don't think it's a common thread. I think.
Everybody's circumstances are different, but
it's true.
What I'm looking for is there a connection between what so as we're talking about how our society has turned into what it is that producing more people who are in trouble and need help.
It could be. I don't think so. I think, for instance, there's a guy in my group. He has 3 DWIs. There's a guy in my group who has 1 DWI who was coming home from dinner. This guy is a repeat offender. This guy just happens to drink and get caught. Think he hit something, and when you have a wreck and this car was immovable, the cops are coming and they're going to give you.
They're going to check you.
They're going to check you. So, of course, society may be a part of that, but I think a lot of times it's circumstance. In my group, I think a lot of times circumstance, maybe poor decision making. But again, that's why I look at them as they're beautiful people. They just got in trouble. I know some things in my past that are probation and parole worthy.
Yeah.
Just sometimes you get caught, sometimes you don't. And that's what these gentlemen and females are. Sometimes you get caught, sometimes you don't. There are people right now, as you and I speak, are doing some treacherous things. They'll never get caught.
Right.
There's some people who go rock around the block and do something and get caught right away.
Yeah.
Now, society may play a part in it to whereby I think we have this idea of, well, get it while you can. Get it while you can. Man, listen, I don't believe in that.
Yeah.
Because we all leave here. The only thing that connects us with the living is our legacy. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all.
Yeah.
So whatever I do from, my life stopped being mine when my son was born. He's 20. He'll be 28 in May. My daughter's 20. My life was really about them because it's all about modeling. Everything you do and everything I do, someone's always watching. Someone's always watching.
Yeah. Yeah. That's true.
Even during my imperfections, I have to remind myself, someone's watching. This is hard.
Yeah. Yeah, and the fact that your kids are watching sometimes.
Yeah, I try to keep that.
Yeah. I think, so the point about sometimes people get caught, sometimes people don't.
Mm-hmm.
But whether you get caught or not, I feel like there's a Yogi Berra-ism that applies to this, but I can't think of what it is. But whether you get caught or not, the fact is that people are, and as you said, people have imperfections, but sometimes people are motivated. Sometimes people are predominantly motivated to do good things, and sometimes people are motivated to get in trouble, right? Or to do things that might get you in trouble.
That's I know a lot of people. Again, I have a beautiful life. I have a beautiful life. A lot of my friends, some of them just like to get in trouble.
Yeah,
they just do. They don't mind it. Some of them didn't have a curfew growing up. Some of them, maybe their parents weren't around. Some of them, they just did what they wanted to. And some of them, are not here. They're no longer on earth. Some of them went to prison and came back. And a lot of them are doing well for themselves.
You have a lot of friends.
I have a lot of friends.
You do?
I do. I have a lot of friends.
Yeah, you make a lot of friends. So what have we sorted out here? So environment plays a big part, but the circumstances
Yeah.
Circumstances plays
Self-assessment.
Yeah. What all right, so I want to come back to the people that well, and actually let me take a brief interlude. So part of my perspective is based not just on like things that I've been fed, but I have, and we don't have time today or the interests for me to tell my whole story, but and this is really funny because actually we recently got a review on Apple Podcasts. We were very proud of it because it was a horrible review, and if you don't get did you see it?
Something about a cisgender or something like that?
So it said, please stop. You're a cis white male. What have you ever had to overcome?
Yeah. I was trying to figure out what was that about.
Right. What have you ever had to overcome? Right.
I read that and then I was looking at. Let me look at the episodes to see who's on here.
What in the hell are they? Yeah. So somebody made a judgment. Said you're a cis white male, and what have you ever had to overcome? Now the reality is, I had just turned 22. I was married, had a baby on the way within the first year. Didn't have. Worked at the grocery store and hadn't finished but about a year's worth of college. Okay, that's where I started. Had no help from either side of the family. $0, zero moral support, nothing. So and we were like 20 and 22. So that's where I started, and it was a shit ton of work, and it was a lot of uncertainty, and it was a lot of but like always found a way to pay the bills, and always and ended up with another baby on the way, not too much longer after that. Had to deal with the family comments like, haven't you figured out what causes that yet? Right? So that's just but so the reality is actually we did have quite a challenge. Maybe it's not quite the same challenge as what somebody else in some other circumstances has, but like it was not easy. There were weeks when it was like, well, we're going to take our bike ride today because that's free. And maybe we can stop at the Dairy Queen and get one ice cream cone that we can share. Right. So, so I just say that to say, actually, I've had to overcome a lot of challenges, but because of me being in a certain category, there is somebody out there who has a perception that automatically that means I've never had to do anything difficult in my life.
I saw the comment. I think you guys had one review. I was looking for more. I think it showed like 3 reviews or something like that, but
you only see the one. Right. But the point is, why are there people? How have we gotten to a point? Because we're talking about all this like, well, I guess if I had to kind of like throw a rope around it, we're saying, okay, well, there's a lot of good things about like who we are and where we live, and then there's some things that are still haven't been really leveled out yet, and what do we need to do about it? But it's hard because there are people. Somehow we've produced a society where there are people who think that, right?
Yeah. And so that assumption that says a lot about him. Has nothing to do with you.
Oh, I'm sure, but my point is there are people that have that perception
every day,
and as a society, we have produced people that have that perception. So how did that happen, and what do we do about that?
So it's a collaborative effort. You and I are speaking. This needs to happen like times 1,000.
Yeah,
if possible.
Yeah,
but again, we're so busy.
You can come back next week if you want. No, I got somebody next week. You can come back the week after that.
It needs to happen like times 1,000. I think that it happens when we're unhappy with ourselves, because I try not to. I've tried not to ever like have a preconceived notion about anyone, make an assumption about anyone.
Yeah,
it's dangerous. If I would have done so, I would have missed out on so many friends. So I know for me, I'm speaking with you, and I'm not going to judge you. I'm going to interact with you on your conditions of merit. And not because of what I think maybe
it's another unpopular.
It is, but
thing, right?
I don't care. Not because of what I think. Well, maybe his ancestors did this, or maybe he did this, or maybe no. I'm going to speak with you, and we're going to converse. And then if you and I have a relationship, we have a relationship. But it won't be because he or she told me to or not.
Right.
It's because I wanted to. Again, we spoke about critical thinking skills. We need to learn to think for ourselves. A lot of times we groupthink with our cultures, with our ethnicity, with our whatever, with our friends, and I think it's dangerous.
Yeah. So I want to hit one more thing, and then we'll let you go.
Sure.
Are you okay for time?
I have to get back to my office, so
Okay.
So another question.
Give me one more. So you're teaching management.
Principles of management, man. I love it.
Okay.
I love it.
So in essence, are most of the students students are in the younger age group, or do you have a lot that are kind of coming back later in life?
So I have I teach 4 classes, two on Tuesday and 2 on Thursday mornings. So most of the kids are between. So there's an outlier. I have a few people who are, or more one person who's 40 plus. I have a few people who are 30 plus. The rest are between 19 and 27. So they're not quite the traditional student, but the majority of them are. In our management class, the first thing I say, teach them. Actually, not teach them. We talk about, because it's really, I'm the professor, but it's a team effort. Like I told them the other day, if you're interesting and interested, it makes my job so much more easier. And they are interesting and interested. They're just a loving, just interesting and interested group of.
So they're engaged.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
The way University of Houston downtown has this management class set up, it's not the traditional way. So we have a topic, we have a lesson, and they work in teams, and then I give them time to discuss it, and they come out and they report to the group, and we discuss it, we debate, and we get out there. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
So the first thing I tell them is the first art of management is to manage ourselves. When we learn to do that, then we actually can manage some other people. But it's tough.
Yeah, because that's what I wanted to ask you, which is, so given that you're out there teaching this principles management,
Yes, sir.
which sounds very like a very practical, business oriented class, right? But back here, like in the world of Taj, you have all these like observations about society and like this goodness that you're trying to, obviously there's a lot of goodness that you're trying to accomplish, because otherwise you wouldn't have so many friends. It's making me think about how many friends I have. So I'm certain that you are taking those kind of objectives and aspirations and trying to like drive it. How do you bring that into? How do you infuse that into something as boring as principles of management?
Great question. I think when we talk about business and we talk about management, we think about the systems, like the bureaucracy of it all. But again, even in the hierarchy, there's a person in there. Hierarchy isn't just a word. Someone's manning that hierarchy. So I have to, we talk about how do we maintain our empathy? How do we maintain the human part of us, the loving part of us? To me, like I tell them, if you're going to be great, it makes no sense why you can't pull someone else with you. We're not here by ourselves for a reason.
Yeah,
it's important for me to remember that, dude. You're doing this, you've done that. Man, I have a business, I have a PhD, I have friends, I have a great family, extended family. I've still not done anything yet. I still have a lot to do.
Yeah,
a lot to do, man. So this is just this is a labor of love from my mother, dear, from my father, because they're always interested in bringing up people to a certain sense of enlightenment. I don't care if it's college, I don't care if it's a vocational school, I don't care if it's somewhere you have to get a certification.
Yeah, and we're getting smarter about that, by the way. So that's good to see.
Most
definitely. Yeah, we're not just so obsessed with shoveling kids into college without thinking about it.
It's about skill and know-how.
Yeah. So, an interesting thing is that you bring up, as you talk about your life, you bring up your parents a lot. And, Jason, when he was here, he talked about, like whenever we talked about the youth a lot, and whenever I kind of pushed a point like on the problems with youth and youth culture, he always went back to, it's the adults in these kids' lives, which is primarily ought to be parents. Not always the case, right? Not always the case. But here you look at somebody like you. At this state of, as much as you say that you got your imperfections and you got shit you're working on or whatever, but like you are where you are, and every time you talk about it, you talk about your parents.
Most definitely,
right?
Most definitely. And my parents are, man, they're just amazing. Amazing isn't even a word. They're just I can't even really talk about them, because again, whatever I say will pale in comparison to who my mother dear was, my father is. So my thing is, I have a purpose. It is us. It's the parents. We have some work to do, because even though the youth they're younger, they're our foundation. They will have to govern this earth someday. Think about
God help us all.
Think about this now. The youth you see running around here doing whatever, and again, there's some youth who are doing some great things. My children,
fantastic,
my nieces and nephews, my godchildren, beautiful thing. My godchildren in early college. My son and my daughter. My son's law school, just graduated. He played college baseball. My daughter plays college basketball. my nieces and nephews. My niece has got a full ride to Prairie View University. My nephew plays high school basketball. So again, there are some beautiful youth, but you see a lot of youth who are just wayward. They don't have any goals. So if you don't have a goal, it's like, this is your goal. Okay, I'm going to try and meet this goal. If you don't have anything, you're over here, you're over here, you're over here, and then again, we decrease our critical thinking skills. We lack self-assessment, and then we're bound to do anything.
Yeah,
it really creates a sense of desperation or nothing.
Yeah,
you're saying it's both dangerous.
But the parents,
we have some problems in I teach parenting classes at my business as well.
Oh yeah,
yeah, for people who are they're designated by CPS and by probation to take parenting classes.
Wow.
But you'll see that
you got all the interesting people. Tell you
a lot of interesting people.
Yeah.
And when they come in, it reminds me like this person is trying to find a way. They just don't know how. I'm trying to find a way.
Yeah.
I'm still trying to search for it. You know?
Yeah. So, all right, I will. Well, you got to get back to all the goodness that you're doing, but good stuff though. I think you're right. If sometimes people we're always looking to somebody, whether it's a government entity or a corporation or somebody or the World Economic Forum, God help us, but but somebody to like step in and like do something to make things go right. Whereas everything that you just talked about is all about people stepping in with each other, and
man, if we don't, we're in trouble.
Is it are we lost cause, you think, or
never?
As
long as
now, I'm not asking like Taj the eternal optimist. I'm asking Taj the PhD researcher.
We never lost cause, because I think if we wake up, we can do better.
Yeah,
if we wake up, we have a chance.
Yeah.
The only time we don't have a chance is if we're not on this earth. But again, I believe in legacy. I'm still trying to write my legacy.
Yeah.
I just am. So that's the only thing that's my mom's legacy living through me. My father's
clearly. That's clear.
Thank you. My father's legacy, he's here, is living through me. So we're not a lost cause. We're beautiful people. I think we just have to stop looking externally for our worth. My daughter, man, she's beautiful. When I tell you she's beautiful, she's beautiful. But like I tell my sweetheart, your beauty only lasts about 5 minutes.
Yeah.
After that, we have to possess some substance. And if we don't, we're in trouble.
Yeah.
Because we can't pass it on to someone else.
Right.
It's not about us. We have to be selfless in this situation, because we're not the only people on earth. You look beside you, look over here, you look in front of you, look behind you. There's going to be a person.
Right.
And we're not trying to save the world. I want you and I to ask ourselves, like, what's your contribution? Did you drain the world with your whatever, your insecurities, your lack of self-assessment, or did you contribute to the world? Did you help someone be great? Did you help someone, form some sort of conclusion that they can live with and live by? Something.
That's really good, actually, because there's a lot of and I know I said we were going to wrap up. I'll say this one more thing. So oftentimes when we think about injustices, we don't think in terms of, we only think about the injustice needs to be corrected by somebody getting something. Right. But what we don't think, but that's like a doctor treating symptoms. Right. Which doctors are excellent at. They're excellent at
giving you medicine.
Yeah, like, so but like what you just said, are you contributing something, or are you just getting out of it?
Or you drain? Yeah, if you're not contributing, you're draining.
You're draining. Yeah. And it's the people contribute. That's the only way that things get fixed, is by everybody contributing.
That's it. But we're afraid of real conversation. We're afraid. We're not used to people being assertive. We're used to people being passive aggressive or passive. And we think assertion is being rude. But in actuality,
more and more lately.
More. But you and I have had an open, honest, and genuine conversation. But again, it needs to be, I said times 1,000, times a million.
Million.
To be honest with you.
All right, so we'll do it again.
Yes, sir.
Maybe I can get you to come back. We'll try to not say the same thing again. We'll try to talk about something else.
It doesn't. Listen, this is about life, because everything passes on. Again, our legacy is the most important.
Yeah.
It's intangible, but it's tangible because it stays with people.
Maybe we'll do that. We'll talk about legacy next time.
Most definitely.
All right.
Most
Thank you, sir.
Of course,
We're
thank
done.
you, man.